If you were to ask me questions on it, I might be able to answer.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
Mm.
the one limitation of this podcast is that I'm asking people about stuff that ultimately I don't know much about. But um welcome to the Course Directory, the podcast where I interview students about what their course is and ask them to explain to us a little bit about it. Today I have on one of my friends who I went to A levels. I did A levels with at Sunway College. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Muhammad Akif Daniel. My friends call me Daniel, especially Naufal. I'm turning 23 this year, and I'm taking computer science degree in computer sciences this year. Yeah,
And you're doing it at Sunway University, right?
yeah, I'm doing it at Sunway University. I'm still there. Yeah.
Okay, right. So the first question I ask people on this podcast is, did you want to go to university?
Well, did I want to go to university? Well, yeah, I guess like one of my well natural progression, I guess in my life is to continue on with university. And I don't think that's ever been a problem, especially in my in my family, you know. Even if it wasn't a private university like Sunway, I would have gone to a public one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I mean, you're doing computer science now, but did you, I mean, well, because, we met at A levels, and personally for me, the reason why I did A levels was because I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do at university.
Uh,
So what about you? How did you get to the point where you decided, okay, I'm going to do a degree in computer science?
well, like you know, like when we went to like an open day, let's say like we went to the open day, they were suggesting a lot of other courses, right, for pre-U. And then like one of them that stood out to me and my father was that A levels. But initially my father wanted me to do law. And at first I myself didn't know what to do in my life. You know, I didn't know what to do, didn't know what to pursue. I've always been a fan of sciences. You know, I had really good marks for science, and then you know stuff like biology, chemistry, physics, and even additional mathematics during SPM. But you know, my English was very good, and I don't. I guess like my father really wanted me to try to do law because he thought that it was a very good career for me for being a lawyer. But then again, as of now, I look at back I look back at that time, and then I felt like it was sort of a learning experience for me, you know. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember that. I remember you, especially during the first year when we were doing AS, like you talking a lot about how like your father really wants you to do law, and we were both doing law together. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking for you a bit here. I'm saying we were both quite bad at law. I eventually got a D after A2. I think did you drop law after AS?
I didn't even finish A levels. Like I did like a year and a half, I think. I did AS. I didn't do A2. And then after AS, I got like it was either E or F for law. And then like I just completely gave up on doing law because like I felt at the time that it wasn't the right thing for me to pursue.
Mhm.
Uh, and my dad, like, you know, at that time, he looked at me and then he said, like, okay, son, you just do whatever you want, and I'm just gonna support you by doing whatever you want. And at the time, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but then like I had like a sort of an inkling of what I wanted to do, which was something related to computer, right? Computers, because I really like computer technology and stuff like that. Yeah, and then like after that, I started having this dream of like maybe going to another country. Well, one of the other factors that made me choose A levels was the prospect of going to the UK. But then again, It doesn't have to be the UK for me. Of course, I go to I wanted to go to UK because I watch football and I like watching, and I wanted to watch my football team to play.
Hmm.
But then again, I got to consider other choices as well because it's for my future, right? And at that time, the one that stood out for me was American Degree Transfer Program,
Hmm.
ADTP. And then after getting the results for A levels and flunking it, I just transferred into American Degree Transfer Program. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so yeah, so the next thing that I usually ask people is to get onto your course, computer science at Sunway, there's a prerequisite usually you have to take, right? So
Oh yeah.
what was the course requirements to get onto that degree program?
Well, to be honest with you, what I did wrong was that I didn't follow the prerequisites like 100% because when I was doing American degree, it was a bit more general, right?
Hmm.
And I didn't know what to do, so I just picked the subjects that seemed like it was right for me at the time. But then I wanted to do computer sciences. I had to take subjects like if I can remember the name, computer organization and stuff like that, programming and other subjects on a similar scale. But at the time, I didn't look at the prerequisites properly. So I kind of suffered by taking calculus 2, calculus 3 in American degree transfer program. But my my current degree doesn't even need those subjects. So I just suffered for nothing, I guess, for those two subjects. But then again, I did manage to get a few of my other subjects to transfer, such as computer organization that I talked about, and then programming. Yeah,
Hmm.
those are the one of the few subjects that were able to be transferred. But then my advice is that if you know what you want to do, you have to look at the prerequisites definitely, for sure, and not make a mistake on which one did you pick. Yeah.
We're gonna go into now like the specific details of what you do, on a week by week basis, I suppose. I do actually have like a course page in front of me that shows me the curriculum of some of your
Yeah.
of like some of the subjects that you're doing here. But like
Yeah.
before I ask you about specifics, do you want to maybe
Yeah.
talk about like what are some subjects that you're doing that you really enjoy?
What I enjoyed, I think the ones that really did enjoy was something that didn't involve final exams, like
Mm,
programming or something that has a final year project that you can work towards, like web
mm,
fundamentals, for example. You just had to create a website and then you have to upload it, and then yeah, you skip the stress of having like a final exam. That's what I feel was quite fun. One of the subjects I really liked was those subjects where you had creativity, like such as web fundamentals, where you essentially create a website, right? And
mhm,
then like one of the subjects that I struggled with, such as digital image processing, that's one of the subjects that I kind of struggled with because the fact that my advice is that once you do get into these subjects, you have to like
mhm,
practice, the codes, the coding,
mhm,
the methods you have to code. Yeah, because I really struggle during like the practical, the
mhm.
practical test where they give like questions, and then you have to answer based on the practicals that you've done before. Those are the ones that I kind of struggle with. But yeah, I kind of like subjects that have a final year project instead of a final exam. So I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of more like subjects that are more oriented to like coursework. Is that would that like
Yeah,
yeah, as opposed to an exam where like you have
yeah,
to kind
yeah.
of cram and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned digital image processing. So what does
Mm.
digital image processing mean?
Well, look, I'm not really like a grade A student, but then like
Mm-hmm.
what I learned from the subject is that, when you get an image of, this is not using any filtering or anything, but then like you get it's sort of like filtering, but then you use code in order to like change an image to grayscale, or change the
Mm-hmm.
contrast, or like sharpen the image so that it becomes clearer, like removing artifacts, methods. You learn methods to learn to remove noise from an image. Like noise is like you can see, like if there's dots, like white
Mm-hmm.
dots or black dots, they're called salt and pepper noise, stuff like that we learn in digital
Mm-hmm.
image processing, and how you remove that, how you remove them in the frequency domain, spatial domain. Yeah, those are the things that I learned from digital image processing. But even if you ask me now, it's kind of a bit hard for me to show it to you. But then like
Yeah.
I do grasp the concept. I do grasp the concept. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, so sticking with like the concept here, like, I mean, what you described to
Mm,
me is like, I mean, in terms of grayscale, at least, like, I can do things on grayscale. Like, I can make a picture grayscale on Instagram, right? If I'm about to upload a photo. But you mentioned coding. Like, obviously, when I do that on Instagram, I don't do any coding. Like, I just choose like
mm.
an option on the GUI, right? The user interface.
Yeah.
So does
Yeah.
that mean like you're saying you do that kind of thing, but like you're doing it directly with the coding, or do you mean like you're able to come up with the reason why Instagram is able to do that because Instagram obviously has codes that does those things?
I think I think it's more of the former. We just learn like the basics of how you turn like a color image to a grayscale image using code. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily apply to what we learn in the like what we use now. But then like turning it from like a color image to a grayscale image is making it easier for you to like remove stuff, because it has less information on the image itself. So removing some noises is going to be easier, like removing blurriness, or like removing like an object is going to be easier if like it's in grayscale, because there's less information on the image. And then also you can store it in like a uh, you know it requires less storage, because like
Mm-hmm.
grayscale is only like on a one plane, instead of like a colored image which has red, green, and blue planes. That's what I learned in digital image processing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that sounds interesting. Okay. I mean, this is maybe like a stupid question, but does that mean like uh you could do that thing like they do in like criminal profiling shows where you see a photo and then you're like, oh, enhance, and then like it gets super clear, like that's the kind of thing you're doing in this class then?
Oh, yeah, you could technically say that, but then like we learn more of the concept of how you do it, and then
Mm-hmm.
like how we use the code to do it. But then like of course those kind of things, I guess like they have like a specific kind of program that has that has like better features and stuff to do those kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then like make it more efficient than what we learn in the class. Yeah, definitely. But then of course it teaches you the basics of it, how to remove those kind of noise, and remove anything that blurs the image, right? And probably for you to like merge images together and make it less and make it more clear once you merge the image. Yes. Right.
Right.
But then that's only like one subject from my computer science
Yeah.
course. It's the
Yeah.
fact that the computer science course is very general
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. It's when it comes to like the science of computer, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my initial thought of like taking digital image processing in the first place, is that when you take this course you have a lot of things that you have to learn, because like I went from I went from database fundamentals to learning digital image processing. So you learn a lot of stuff in computer sciences actually, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't like focus on one thing.
Right. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
why.
So, I mean, I'm gonna move on from digital image processing now. I'm gonna ask you about some other things. So you said you're in second year now, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you about like some of the year two things, and like one thing in particular sticks out to me here because okay, so there's a subject called computer networks.
Okay.
And like, so before I ask you about that, like the reason why I'm interested in that in particular is because when I asked my friend Sarabjit about it the other day,
Hmm.
he couldn't really explain
Hmm.
computer networks because he wasn't as interested in computer networks. So maybe you might be able to explain what that is and what that means.
Oh, actually, I was interested in computer networks, and it actually kind of like driven me to like probably focus more on it while doing my master's probably in the future. I'm thinking of
Mhm.
it. It's more like you learn how, how basically how the network works, like they, for example, in the very basics, like you have UDP, you know how file transfers on the internet data.
Mhm.
I can remember a few only, but then like one of them is like UDP. Basically, when you want to transfer files on the internet, they don't send it all together. They send it in
Mhm.
packets, right?
Mhm.
And UDP is more trusted for stuff that doesn't like need a that doesn't need information as clear and as concise as possible, because like I can't remember the other name, but then like there is a different kind of data type, or is it called a data type? But then like a transfer data, which is like UDP, and then there was another one. But UDP is used for transferring information online, primarily for videos, because like when you watch a video, it doesn't really matter how bad the quality. Well, it does matter, but then like you want
Mhm.
it to come fast, right?
Mhm.
So people won't notice even a bit of data loss, even like if there's like a little bit of like a byte missing, you won't really notice that, right?
Mhm.
So that's why we use like stuff like UDP to transfer files instead of the other transfer type, which I cannot remember for the life of me.
Mhm. I mean, to ask you on that, it's like UDP is trying to optimize it for like being faster transfers, whereas the other one is
Yeah,
to do with like detail. Would you say then?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's something like that. Yeah. That's just one aspect. Then we learn like uh bottlenecking, throughputs, I learned a lot more, but then like I can't remember uh I can't remember much about it right now. And then like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like what you said about UDP and it being like about speed and like sometimes there's data loss. Like you, like I guess the average
Mhm.
person sees that with like YouTube, where if someone just uploads a video on YouTube, like it doesn't have 720p or 1080p straight away, right? It starts at 480p or like lower
Mm,
resolutions before you can
yeah,
get to
yeah,
the higher ones.
yeah. And then also we learned this thing called Wireshark, where we record is the data from like let's say like we transfer a file to a website, then we record the whole session, and then we'll see the various different data types of the information that was uploaded based on the data types. There's like different types of data types that are sent to that are recorded using Wireshark, and that's what I've learned. And you know, I guess like um, networking people who are like in the networking job have to look at those kind of like uh, charts, or like the data types for to like analyze something. Yeah, that's what I think. That's one of the things that network analysts do, I guess. That's quite fun, because like you can see all the data, the stuff that have been transferred from your computer to the website, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that very really cool. And you know, yeah, and then like if you see the interface, and then it'll look like you're kind of like hacking a system or something, but then it's just like you looking at some data of like a website,
Right.
of you sending something to a website. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's cool, I guess, because like I mean, yeah, like that's kind of so important, like especially in the world we live in now, where everything is like it's like a the world gets smaller every day, where like more and more we're relying on these like you said, like network systems to kind of just transfer data, and like it's like actually really important. Like in the past, like I could just maybe open my window and shout at my neighbor if something important was happening, but now like I have to go on the computer and like transfer data on these networks and stuff, right? Like to post a tweet or something, right?
Yeah, you have a point there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could I maybe say like the
Yeah.
subjects that I'm taking this
Yeah,
semester
yeah,
maybe,
sure.
and
Like
then
you just go on and
talk you
speak your
through,
subjects, yeah.
yeah, talk you through them maybe. Okay, so for this semester, I did like four subjects.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is like software engineering. Second one is data structures and algorithms. Third one is operating system fundamentals, and then the fourth one is programming, object-oriented programming. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so which one would you like to like learn more about?
Well, let's say this. Let's say which one of those did you like the most, and then we'll do which one of those
Oh,
did you not like.
so far I've
Right.
been really enjoying object-oriented programming.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did something similar to it during um my ADTP's times, but then like we use a different language. You know, in programming, there's like different
Mm-hmm.
languages, right? Like
Yeah.
Java, Python, and C++, those kind of languages.
Mm-hmm.
In this object-oriented programming course I'm doing right now, we learn the Scala language, which is like my lecturer said that it's one of the most profitable, one of the most profitable languages that you can learn in the future, you know, like for your career. And then like, you know, I feel like it's kind of fun learning these different languages of the programming kind of sense, you know. But that's not all. I feel like most of the subjects are kind of similar to you know, as in like my interests towards them. But I would lean on object-oriented programming more because like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I feel like it might be easier because of because of the fact that I did it something similar to it before. However, if you want to say something like more interesting, I guess you could say operating system fundamentals because you learn stuff like an operating system. If you know stuff like MacBook, like
Mm-hmm.
MacBook has Mac OS, and Windows, like everyone knows Windows, right? And then like Android. But to be honest with you, most computers they just use like the same stuff. Oh, I'm missing another one, Linux. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the computers they just use Windows, Linux, or Mac. It's the telephones and stuff that use like more range of different operating systems like Apple, iOS, and then there's specific supercomputers that use their own operating system because they use like different processes and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one is also kind of interesting to me. And I think right now what we learn in the operating system is that how these processes are handled throughout
Mm-hmm.
the whole operating system and how like which one goes first, you know, those kind of stuff. Which one goes first when you're trying to boot a system, let's say, and then which processes goes first, which one goes second. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the chapter that we did last before the semester breaks. Yeah.
So I mean, you say like which one goes first and which one goes second, like, and you're talking about that
Mm.
in the context of like an operating system. So by that, do you
Yeah.
mean like when I boot up my laptop, like sometimes I have to wait a bit, right? Because so many things
Mm.
are going on, and like I just want to
Mm.
Google something really quickly, but I have to wait still. So
Yeah.
is that what you mean in terms of like you're you're learning about how the operating system has so many things going on, and like what specifically is the order that things have to happen for you to be able to do the simple thing you wanted to do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, yeah.
Okay.
You explained it. You explained it quite well. Yeah, it's something like that.
Okay.
And then like another subject I took is that data structures and algorithms. That one is a bit more. How do you say this? I don't find it hard. It's more the fact that you want to understand it. There's gonna be like sorting algorithms, like bubble sort, uh, quick sort. I can't remember the name for the life of me, but then like there's different kind of sorting algorithms that
Mhm.
you learn in my course, and then like the tree diagrams and stuff. Those are also the things that I learned in data structures and algorithms. Yeah,
Okay.
and then
So, well,
finally,
hold on, let me
yeah,
just stop you there. Like,
yeah.
what do you mean by a sorting algorithm? Like, what is the use of a sorting algorithm?
Mm, well, sorting algorithms basically is like I think the main point is to like sort the data, but using like the algorithm that requires the least amount of time, basically. But then like there's not anything wrong with learning other types of sorting algorithms, because some of them might work on some data and then like some of them might not work on some data. But then like yeah, that's what I grasp from there's like plenty of ways to sort your data.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but then
And
I mean again, this is maybe like a really oversimple question, but like why do you need to sort data?
because let's say like you get a lot of data jumbled up, right? And then
Yeah.
like you want to search for specific data, it's gonna be you have to like sort it first, right? Otherwise it'll make it more complex for you to search, for you to
Mhm.
find that specific data, right? That's what I think, Yeah.
Okay. So
That
it's like
that
a
might that that might not be the professional definition
Mhm.
of it, but then that's my understanding of it. Yeah.
Right. So I mean to give an example then, would it maybe be like so like the purpose of a sorting algorithm and like why you would want to use a sorting algorithm and or design one maybe is
Mm,
like I don't know, say on my documents page, right? On my Windows
mm,
laptop, I have a documents page.
yeah.
And like say I want to find uh like I want to find this recording, for example, on the documents
Yeah.
page. Like so is that like
Uh,
yeah, that is like an applied way of using a sorting algorithm.
you could say so, but then like I feel like the situation you're giving is like a bit more how do you say detailed and more specific. But then like
Mm-hmm.
this is just sorting for now. It's just sorting a bunch of numbers. That's what I've learned from the algorithms and stuff. But then again, one of the more famous algorithms, Dijkstra algorithm, um has sort of been used for like GPS systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And GPS system, they find the shortest distance from your place to your destination, but
Mm-hmm.
then like it sort it by using the least amount of, let's say like there's an obstacle in between, and
Mm-hmm.
that increases the, how do you say, like the power that you need to go to that place.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it'll go to other places that require less power, but then like it'll save you more time to reach that place. I think that's called Dijkstra algorithm, and what I've learned from it, yeah, that's one of the more famous algorithms that sort of applied in nowadays. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, I mean I
Mm,
understood that makes sense to me. Like, yeah. We mentioned like a few of those that you're doing this semester that you kind of liked or you're
mm.
find interesting. Is there one that you find not so interesting? It doesn't have to be this semester, just anything that you thought was maybe less interesting.
Well, I guess software engineering, I guess it's like what's the term for it? A subject, an elective for me.
Mm,
But it's not like how do you say this? It's not uninteresting per se. Probably the content could be delivered better. It's just that the lecturer just explained whatever happens in the slide and it just gives her experience on it. And I don't find that bad or anything. I mean, like that's basically what lecturers do. They do explain it, and then if we ask questions, they'll just answer. But then, like, I don't know. For me, software engineering is like a bit kind of uninteresting. The fact that you learn stuff that how, let's say, how a project goes. Like if you want to plan a project, you you have to, there's different ways of planning a project. Like that's why I understand from the from excuse me from the subject is that there's like this one, like for example, there's this one way of planning a project where you have to like release the like how do you say this? You code the project, right? Basically,
Mm,
you have to ask information from from your users, right? You get all the information and then you put out your project. Of course, like when you put out a project, there's bugs, right? And then like bugs and errors.
mm-hmm,
And that's why in this world, you put out a test project, right? And then you give it out to your users or like testers first before like releasing like the main beta version that everyone can use. But even then, like projects nowadays, you'll always see updates for like a project, right? Like
mm-hmm,
there'll be 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, where these subjects are always evolving, like the softwares are always evolving.
mm,
And I feel like that's one of the main things that I learned from software engineering is that, well, software engineering subjects is that uh, even after you release a project, let's say it's always evolving because you always have to maintain it for the user. And then of course before you upload it, you have to explain to the you have to listen to the explanation of the how do you say, the customer, right, of what
mm-hmm.
they want from the software itself. Yeah, basically that's it. There's more to software engineering than just releasing a code for everyone to see.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of like other more deeper sort of procedures within software engineering that
Right.
it's kind of interesting, but then like sometimes it's just a bit hard to take it into practice, and then you learn from experience. That's what I want to say. Like
Right. Yeah.
it's better to learning from experience than just learning it from a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
Right.
say.
Because like a lot of things you mentioned, like maybe have to do with like social aspect or like managing different like clients' interests or whatever and things
Mm,
like that, which I guess like yeah, like in practice when you're sitting in a lecture hall, like it's difficult to communicate that effectively.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So I mean we've talked a lot about your subjects. So really like we're approaching the end here, and I've got
Mm.
one question that I ask people at the end, which is, do you think that the knowledge you learn on your course is it knowledge that would be useful for the general public? Like, do you think everyone should learn like a little bit of computer science?
My opinion is that so far from what I've learned, I find it's a very fun course, and for the things that I've learned and the things that I'm interested in, I think like they coincide with really well. But then like of course there's an issue right now of you see that AI, that's one of the things that
Mm,
have been quite worrying for me, at least that I've thought about it, like man, like if I can just ask a program to do this and that and then they produce the code for me, then what is my future, right?
mm,
However, it's like, but I read a few articles that say that it might not necessarily be the truth, because even if you ask like stuff like ChatGPT to give you a code, it doesn't necessarily work, right?
mm,
And then like you basically you can use, in my course you can use like ChatGPT for reference. Even I use them for my assignments. Is that
mm,
well, I guess most of people do nowadays, but then like it is kind of worrisome to see these AI and stuff as they evolve every single day, right? And I'm trying to say that I hope that it doesn't affect my course in any kind of the future, but I can't
mm,
really guarantee that, you know.
right.
But I guess it also applies to other courses as well, you know.
Mm,
But being in the computer science field itself and then seeing it evolve every single day, and how close it is to my field, and even next semester, I think I'll take something along the lines of AI and learn more about AI.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess like that's one of the things that you should look out for. But overall, I think computer science is a very fun course, and if the person that I'm talking to is interested in the stuff that I'm interested in, I would definitely introduce computer science to them, yeah, and probably push them to pursue it. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a really solid answer. Yeah. Okay, so we're at the end here now. Usually I also allow people to say whatever it is that they want to say at the end. Like, so do you have anything you want to say at the end?
Could you be more specific?
I mean, it doesn't have to be anything. You could just say, it's Father's Day today. You could say Happy Father's Day. I mean, anything, anything.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and then like I hope all the sons do wish them Happy Father's Day. But uh, like more of the about the podcast today, I want to say that people should how do you say, at least try to find the right course for them before they try to enter anything, because I sort of wasted a year and a half at A levels, right? And you
Mhm.
would know that best because you were there by my side during A levels, and you should really focus on at least try to think about what you want to do in the future so that you don't have to struggle like I did. And what else? And probably keep your feelings in check. I want to say that you should keep your emotions and feelings in check. And if you ever have any issues with your mental health, please go find a counselor or something to talk to, and then like find the right friends to talk to about. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Thanks to Daniel for coming on, and thanks to the listeners for listening. We'll be back next week to talk to someone else.